Okay, we're good? Oh. Okay, we will call regular council meeting to order for Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. As we gather, we are reminded that the town of Bonnyville is situated on Treaty 6 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and is the traditional homeland and home to First Nation and Métis people today. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nation, Métis, and all First People of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our community. All right, before us we have an agenda. Were there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Nothing from administration, Your Worship.
All right, well, motion to accept the agenda then, please. Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I would propose that we adopt the agenda as, thank you, presented.
All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the meeting minutes from the council meeting of April 9th. Were there any changes to these minutes? Councillor Blanchette?
No changes, Madam Mayor. I'll move adoption of the meeting minutes of April 9th as presented.
All in favor? That's carried. All right, we do have a delegation, but for technical difficulties, we will have to come back to them at this time. So we are going to move on to 5B, our public hearing, and I will look for a motion to move into public hearing.
I will move us into public hearing, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McAvoy. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, I now declare the public hearing open. Administration, once the subject matter has been introduced, the mayor will call the following. Do you want to speak on it, or?
I will, Madam Mayor. Pursuant to the MGA Act, RSA 2000 M26, a public hearing is required to be held for amendments to the bylaw amending bylaw number 1565-24 has been advertised in accordance with the legislation. We have had no feedback on this amendment. Provisions for the blade signs have been implemented with the amending bylaw 1564-24, and amending bylaw 1565-24 includes update fee schedules to reflect the changes made for the signage. In the public hearing to be held for the land use bylaw amendment 1565-24, and its recommendation that council proceed with the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. I will now call to see if there's anybody present who'd like to speak for or against this bylaw to please come forward. Since there's nobody even in attendance, do I need to call it the second or third time still?
We can. There's no one in attendance, Your Worship, so we can skip that and go right to if we have any correspondence.
Okay. Are there any correspondence? For and against?
There's been no correspondence.
Okay, thank you. There being no further business before this public hearing, I now declare this public hearing closed. Would a member of council please move to return to regular session? Councillor Sharoon?
I move that we go back into regular session.
All in favor? Carried. Oops. Okay, we will move to 6A, amendment to the bylaw, 1565-24, planning and development service fees.
Thank you, Your Worship. Provisions for blade signs have been implemented with the amending bylaw 1564-24 and amending bylaw number 1565-24 received its first reading on March 26, 2024 at the regular council meeting, which updated the fee schedule to reflective of these amendments. As of the date of the writing of this document, there have been no inquiries or comments received during the 2 weeks that it was posted in the paper. The recommendation that council provide second and third reading for bylaw 1565-24.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions? No? All right. So we're looking for a motion for second reading, please. Counselor Johnson?
I'll make the motion for provide the second reading of bylaw 1565-24.
All in favor? That's carried. And a motion for third and final reading. Counselor Sharoon?
I move the third and final reading for the amendment bylaw 1565-24.
All in favor? Carried. All right, we will move to 7A, the financials bank reconciliation for March 2024.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the end of March, there was $24,755,189 in our ATB bank balance. Our ATB 90-day NDA account had a balance of $227,228, and the Frog Lake Tie-in Design Grant that was included in our bank balance was $18,898. We are asking that Council accept the March 2024 bank reconciliation report as presented.
All right, any questions for administration? No? Councillor Blanchette?
I'll move that council accept the March 2024 bank reconciliation report as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Next, we have our operating financial report for March 2024.
Thank you. Policy number 01FN009 says that we have to present a financial report for the operating budget monthly and a detailed report on a quarterly basis. Attached is the quarterly report for operations ending March 2024, and we ask that council accept this report for information.
Thank you. Any questions on this report? Councillor Blanchette?
Sorry if this is a silly question, but looking at the summary on page 28, what is the item that just says programs of the package? Yeah.
Just above the curling rink.
That is your events, Festival of Trees, Canada Day, that's those programs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Looking for a motion then, please, to approve as presented. Councillor McAvoy?
I will move approval or acceptance of the operating financial report quarterly.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, next we have the capital financial report for March 2024.
Thank you. As with operating, these are the capital financials up to the end of March 2024, and we ask that council accept this report as information.
Any questions on the capital report? All right. Motion then, please, to accept the report. Councillor Johnson?
I'll make the motion that we accept the March 2024 capital financial report as presented.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, 7D, the transfers to and from reserves for the 2023 year end.
Thank you. In accordance with policy number 07FN049, a council motion is required to transfer funds not budgeted from the operating and capital budget to reserves and to transfer funds from the reserves to the operating and capital budget. At the February 27th meeting, council approved most of the reserve transfers required to complete the 2023 year end. Since then, there have been some adjusting journal entries that have changed or added to the year-end reserve transfers for 2023. The 2023 year end ended with a surplus of $757,406.61. We are asking that council authorize the attached list of transfers to and from reserves as noted for operations and capital projects for 2023.
All right. Any questions? All right. Motion to accept then as presented. Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I would put the motion forward to council authorize the attached listed transfers to and from reserves as noted for operations and capital projects in 2023.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. I believe our delegation is now online. Is that correct? Correct. Good.
Yep, we think so, Your Worship. Can you guys hear us?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
We can. Excellent. Thank you. We
Thank
apologize
you.
for the technological delay, but happy to be joining you.
Well, happy you're able to join us this evening. So it looks like I'll be turning the floor over to you to go through our audited financials.
Absolutely. So in the room, we have myself, Renee Senko, Amy Baxendall, Stephanie Ogrodnik. We are the audit team for the town of Bonnyville, and we have your financial statements ready for review and approval for you this evening. And I will turn everything over to Stephanie to go through the financials, and of course, then we'll take questions at the end if you have any.
All right. The first 2 pages is our independent auditor's report. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects, meaning we have issued a clean audit report. We conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with public sector accounting standards. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. And on the second page, this is done by identifying and assessing the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements, obtaining an understanding of internal controls relevant to the audit, evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used, concluding on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis of accounting, and evaluating the overall presentation, structure, and content of the financial statements. If you'll please turn to the consolidated statement of financial position. Please note that the 2022 comparatives say restated because of the changes to certain accounts due to retrospectively adopting the asset retirement obligation standard. Significant changes include cash increased about $3.3 million due to decreased receivables, excess of revenue over expenses of $3.5 million, which is offset by repayment of debt. Taxes and grants in place of taxes receivable are fairly consistent with last year. Due from governments decreased about $270,000 due to decreased receivables from CCRF and the MD of Bonnyville. Trade and other receivables are fairly consistent with last year. Local improvement receivable decreased about $1 million due to payments received. And investments are fairly consistent with last year. Under liabilities, accounts payable and accrued liabilities decreased about $510,000 due to smaller payable balances for construction holdbacks. Asset retirement obligation is new this year and replaced the landfill liability. It was retrospectively adopted, resulting in a 2022 and 2023 balance. Deposit liabilities are fairly consistent with last year. Deferred revenue decreased about $660,000 due to some of the ID 349, IMCP, and Frog Lake funds being used in the year. And this was slightly offset by $108,000 of FRN funds received but not used in 2023. And long-term debt decreased $980,000 due to principal payments made. This results in net financial assets of $22.1 million. Under non-financial assets, tangible capital assets are fairly consistent with last year due to additions and asset retirement obligation rate changes being of similar value to amortization. Inventory and prepaid expenses are fairly consistent with last year. The next page is your consolidated statement of operations. Net municipal taxes are fairly consistent with last year. User fees and sale of goods increased about $440,000 due to higher water, sewage, and garbage revenue. Government transfers for operating are fairly consistent with last year. Investment income increased about $650,000 due to increased interest rates. Penalties and costs on taxes and loss on disposal of tangible capital assets are similar to prior year. And other revenue consists of licenses, fines, franchise fees, and rental revenue. Moving down to expenses. Overall budgeted expenses of $25.8 million and spent $25.2 million, which is fairly consistent. Significant changes in expenses are administration and legislative increased about $420,000 due to more spent on wages, contracted and general services. Protective services increased about $350,000 due to more spent on contracted and general services for policing. And parks and recreation increased about $400,000 due to more spent on wages, contracted and general services, and higher amortization. This brings you to an excess of revenue over expenses of $3.5 million. We'll skip the next page as it is a further breakdown of your changes in net assets. We'll move on to the consolidated statement of cash flows. Overall, there is a positive change in cash of $3.7 million. Of the $27.3 million of cash, there's $2.1 million allocated to projects, leaving $25.2 million available for current use. If you flip to the next page, Schedule 1, your schedule of changes in accumulated surplus. The balance at the end of the year in unrestricted surplus is $814,303. This is the surplus after investments in capital and reserve transfers. There are funds of $36.6 million held in reserves for capital and operating projects. $126 million is held in tangible capital assets and debt, bringing total accumulated surplus to $163.4 million. There are a few other schedules that we'll skip over as we've already gone over the information in them. And if you can skip to page 16, we'll go over some of the notes. We're looking at note 8, asset retirement obligation. This note is new this year and replaced the landfill liability note. In 2023, the town of Bonnyville adopted standard 3280 asset retirement obligations. The modified retroactive application was chosen, resulting in the restatement of the prior period financial statements. We flip over to page 18, looking at note 9. This note for deferred revenue highlights the allocation of funding that is to be used on specific projects. We flip to the next page. Note 11 is where the debt limits are calculated. and there is $5.4 million of borrowing capacity available for future projects. You flip to note 15.
Page 21.
This is the salary and benefits disclosure note, and this disclosure is required by municipal affairs. Then if you flip to page 23, looking at note 23, the modified retroactive restatement note. This note just highlights the 2022 changes for retrospectively adopting the new asset retirement obligation. The rest of the notes contain further details on items we've already gone over. We'd like to thank you for your time and for continuing to choose Wild & Company as your auditors. And we'd also like to thank Renee, Janine, and the rest of your staff for being a pleasure to work with again. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Thank you so much for that review, and I'll open it up to council. Are there any questions or comments? Who wants to open it up? Anybody? No? Okay, I just have a quick question. It's back on the net financial assets on page 3. I know we didn't go over that page, but I'm just wondering under the acquisition of tangible capital assets, maybe if you can talk through those numbers with me. Our budgeted amount was significantly higher, and I'm trying to think of what this could be.
We're not certain exactly what we had budgeted. Maybe Renee could comment on that. I know the purchase of anything that was purchased through tangible capital assets would be in there, as well as with the asset retirement obligation. With each of those assets, there is an addition to assets as well as the liability. I know some of the projects that you had planned for this year, some of them per your capital asset policy are considered operating versus capital. So some of those may have been expensed in the year rather than recorded as a purchase of capital equipment. I don't know if Renee has any other comments on that.
Yeah, there was some that were carried over into operating, like the branding strategy and the commercial gap analysis. That's not considered a tangible capital asset. As well, we didn't purchase a lot of the equipment, which you'll see they're carried over in the 2024 budget. So that's very reflective of the projects that weren't finished and the carryovers and stuff like that.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Questions, comments? No? All right. Well, I really appreciate the time that you took with us this evening, and looks like we'll have a opportunity to pass our budget later on in our meeting. So, thank you for your time.
Excellent, thank you so much, and really just want to commend your team and Renee and Bill to get the asset retirement obligation evaluations and recording through your financial statements this year. You're one of the very few municipalities that we work with that actually got it done. So we're just very grateful and proud of your team, and what a great job they did wading through all of the rules and numbers. And it's been a long process, and we just really want to thank Renee for her patience with us through all of this too. So thank you all.
Thank you. That's amazing feedback. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we will proceed with the meeting, and we are now under 8A, the 2024 financial operating budget. And this is...
Due to your worship, I can introduce that.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Bill.
So, thank you, your worship, for that, and members of council. We're pleased to be joined by our senior staff this evening, and it's our pleasure to introduce Budget 2024. As situations tend to change between Christmas, when we pass our interim budgets, and April, when our tax bylaws are passed, Our final budgets are approved by council at this time, just following the release of provincial budgets. These last 2 years have seen improvements in our local economy, and the future of Bonnyville looks very bright. Budget 2024 will continue our long-standing practice of providing high-quality services to residents as efficiently as possible. This budget directly reflects council's strategic priorities, specifically in areas of community expectations for the services and amenities we provide. Residents expect a lot, and we deliver. The town of Bonnyville provides a high quality of life for our residents and our business owners. Economic development matters. Council continues to place a very high priority on this and on Bonnyville as a destination of choice for new business, while providing strong support and growth opportunities for our existing business community. Our Economic Development and Tourism Committee has assisted the town in continued promotion of economic diversification projects aimed at creating a stronger economic base that benefits us all. Budget 2024 provides for the development of several economic development-related initiatives, which will help oversee programs and strategies and assist us as we continue to plan for our future and manage our growth. In the area of financial sustainability, ID 349 revenue sharing by the province with our regional partners and sound annual financial planning by council and staff continue to form the background of our financial sustainability. Our financial picture remains sustainable and will be more so each year. Looking briefly at our operating budget, Budget 2024 will see the continuation of essential services and provision to our residents. We will present a balanced budget this evening at approximately $31.5 million in total, which represents a mix of core essential services as well as value-added activities that reflect council's plan to grow our community. Continuing a planning process that started in 2021, administration continues to recommend an operating budget plan with council each year that anticipates annual modest increase in municipal taxes in order to maintain our level of service and also avoid huge spikes in costs to our residents. The planned 2% municipal tax increase remains administration's recommendation for 2024 to help ensure our service levels remain high and help decrease the amount that the town depends on our reserves to help balance the budget each year. With regards to the capital budget, Budget 2024 will see approximately $22 million invested in crucial core and value-added capital projects in our community. In accordance with Council's Vision Action Plan developed just last year, highlights of the 2024 capital works projects will include strategies such as Jessie Lake Futures, facilities, future accommodations, downtown initiatives, and others. Upgrades to our water and distribution systems are also planned. Continued improvements to Jessie Lake Park areas will happen this year, including additional tree lighting. Lowering Jessie Lake water levels will be planned to continue this year. Moderating these lake levels will allow us to proceed with future repair of trail areas and structures currently threatened by water. Our continued expansion of outdoor recreation facilities for parks areas as well, and needed equipment replacement purchases are also included. And other projects will happen this year. With these core and value-added projects closely tied to Council's annual vision action plans for the sustainability of the town, this is truly a council-driven financial plan. With all of this being said, Your Worship, and to make recommendations regarding our 2024 final budgets to Council, our General Manager of Corporate Services, Renee Stoyles, and Director of Finance, Janine Chernerhos, are here to present Budget 2024, the specific staff recommendations for your approval, and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill. Take it away.
So the proposed final operating budget that you have being presented this evening has been revised from the one that was in the package, and that is to reflect the actual tender amount for the annual patching program, which had an overall decrease of $142,080. The inclusion of this revision has reduced the transfer from the operating reserve to balance the budget. This draft of the budget also includes changes from the interim budget as well as recommendations from the April 16th Governance and Priorities Committee meeting. The transfer from reserve required to balance the interim operating budget was $444,000 $524,037, which has now increased to $524,511. The total 2024 final operating budget is $31,325,357. The interim budget included a 2% tax dollar increase, with the total municipal tax revenue for 2024 estimated at $8.4 million. The total anticipated municipal tax revenue in the final budget is $8,476,508. There's a slight increase from the interim budget, which is due to a slight increase in assessment growth from new development in some of the assessment classes. The school tax requisition has decreased by $9,385. This will result in an increase in actual school tax for residential of 4.14% and a decrease in actual school tax for non-residential properties of 5.01%. Based on the residential assessments for school tax purposes, the residential school tax rate will increase by 5.88%. The non-residential assessments for school tax purposes will decrease by 2.7%. The tax rates will be set when we pass the tax rate bylaw at the May 14th council meeting. As noted, this draft proposes an overall 2% municipal tax increase, a net school tax increase for residential properties, and a net decrease in school tax for non-residential properties. There is also a small decrease in the seniors' requisition. The effective overall impact will be residential property tax will increase approximately 2.59%, and non-residential property tax will decrease by approximately 0.74%. Changes that have been included are broken out by each department, included in the staff recommendation. And administration is asking that council approve the 2024 operating budget as presented this evening.
Thank you very much, Renee. It's very well laid out. And I will open it up to council. Are there any questions or comments on the, go ahead, Councillor Kushner.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So the only change really monetarily from when we saw it at governance priorities is that $142,000 less. And then the other thing that you mentioned there, that's the only thing, right?
Yes, yeah, those two line items.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Can you explain to me how is it determined the school tax rates between residential and non-residential?
So the province sends out their provincial equalized assessment to get the tax rate, and then they let us know what the requisition will be for each of the classes, residential and non-residential, and then we take both of the assessments that are included in that to break out what the tax rate will be.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. All right, if there are no other questions, we are looking for a motion to approve the budget, the operating budget. Councillor Kushner?
I'll make the motion that we approve the 2024 operating budget as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have, where's my notes? The final capital budget for 2024.
Thank you. The 2024 proposed capital budget being presented this evening has been revised from the one in your package to reflect the actual tender amounts for capital projects, which had an overall increase of $444,717, and that was for core infrastructure projects. The inclusion of the revisions has adjusted both revenues and expenses, and overall, the proposed 2024 capital budget is still a balanced budget. Future grant revenue is anticipated to be $1,436,053 per year, which will include the local government fiscal framework and the Canada Community Building Fund. The total revenue for capital projects is anticipated to be $22,048,085. This includes $5.5 million in grant funding, $10 million in transfers from reserves, $5.6 million in debenture funding, $84,000 for local improvement tax revenue, $46,000 from other revenue, and $179,000 from prior year grant funding. All of the carryover projects have been included in this draft of the capital budget from 2023. Changes to the capital projects from the interim budget include the carryover projects that are fully funded, as well as the addition of funds to complete the town office renovations, addition of office space for the manager at the RCMP detachment, update costs for a mower, addition of a sickle mower, updated costs for the vac truck, updated costs for the 2024 annual overlay program, updated costs for the 54th Street rehab, updated cost and the addition of the installation of a storm line, and updated costs for 49th Street rehab. There was an addition of funds to complete an aquatics facility plan, should it be required, and the deferral of costs for the aquatics facility based on the GICB application being unsuccessful. There are updated costs for the Lakeshore Drive Master Plan, increased funding for the Jessie Lake tree lighting, and the addition of a reserve transfer for recreation projects. Administration is asking that council approve the 2024 capital budget as presented.
All right, I will open it up. Questions, comments? No? All right, we are looking for a motion. Councillor Langridge?
Just a question first, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Excuse me, through to administration. So without being able to review the proposed changes from when we last saw this at the Governance and Priorities Committee, basically, we tendered out the project that we're looking at redoing the entire length of 54th Street from 50th Avenue to Lakeshore Drive. And the project came in significantly higher than we expected.
That project did come in about $600,000 higher than expected. The overlay project came in just a little bit higher. The 49th Street project for relining, instead of doing the full project, there's just relining included in this draft of the budget, which came down significantly lower by about $220,000. And that just reduced from the Governance and Priorities Committee meeting. There was about a $600,000 transfer for recreation projects, and that's now brought down to about $432,000.
So is it fair to say that we can expect these increased costs going forward with our annual overlay program if we budgeted similar to what we would have done in years past to this year now and seeing an increase?
It would, sorry, it all depends, I guess, the scope of the work that we're asking for. Some of the items of 54th Street were provisional, which we did include to do with the storm outfall. Some of the items for the overlay program, and I'll get Brad to speak a little bit more on the 46th Street overlay, but it's not just the overlay itself as the road portion, there's some more work that has to be done.
Yeah, so the 46th Avenue overlay portion is a section of road off of 46th Street, and it wraps around and connects to 45th Ave. And it's more than just an overlay. Like if you would just, our typical overlay is just a mill and fill. You go and mill the gutters and then you overlay it, but the road is essentially beyond that. And so we were looking at more long-term fixes for that, just because like the gutters are in rough shape, the sidewalk is in rough shape, so we're looking at really improving that road because we haven't had any like water or sewer breaks on that stretch. So it's a much more intensive repair than just an overlay. So,
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, so we are looking for a decision on this capital budget. Please, Councillor Schwerin.
Madam Mayor, I will approve the 2024 capital budget as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, next, the approval of the 2023 audited financial statements. Councillor McAvoy?
I will move approval of the 2023 financial statements.
All right, thanks. All in favor? Carried. All right, now we're looking for a funding request. Who's looking after this one?
I'll speak to that, Madam Mayor. Attached is a donation request from Florence Pipe Young Chief requesting funding for their Kihuan Hand Games tournament in the amount of $1,000. The Hand Games tournament is being held on Mother's Day weekend, May 10th to 12th, 2024, at Kihuan Cree Nation Rec Center. In December 2022, Council approved a donation for this event in the amount of $500 for the 2023 Mother's Day event. Our new policy states that this type of event qualifies for only $250. Administration is recommending that council provide a donation to the Kihu-Pasqua Meadows Association in the amount of $250.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Through to administration, as I recall, or maybe I'm not remembering correctly, they requested this last year, but I don't believe that the event actually happened. I don't know if we ever did.
I would have to follow up with them to see if they actually held the event last year. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think they did. Because I know I was gonna go, but I think that they had a death on the nation, and I feel like that's what they did. Did we give them the money, though? Do you know?
In 2022, we did.
In 2022?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but I don't know if they actually had the event. But, okay, sorry. I was just curious.
Yeah, just to break in, your worship, I don't think this came in 2023, but in 2022, council approved $500 for the Mother's Day event for 2023.
Okay, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. I mean, I'd like to see us at least go to $500. I mean, it is an amount that we had discussed earlier, and we were in favor of giving 500. You know, for, I think, a cultural event such as this, and when we talk about regional cooperation and wanting to support each other, I'd like us to see us go at least to $500. That's my pitch to council. Councillor Schroen?
I have no issue with matching what we gave before, so I have no issues with the $500. So if there's no other, I'll bring it to the floor. I will move that a donation to the Kihu-Pasqua Meadows Association in the amount of $500.
Okay, any questions on the motion? We'll call the motion. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, next. Bonnyville FCSS, looking for a letter of support.
I can speak to that, your worship. We received a request from the FCSS to provide a letter of support for their provincial assisted transportation project funding grant application. And this is, if successful, would provide us with funding to hire a full-time driver and maintain our handy bus for a period of a couple of years, I believe, if we're successful. Because of time constraints, that letter was issued on April the 12th, and we're asking that council ratify the letter of support that was provided to the FCSS for this grant.
Great, so we're just looking for a motion to ratify our decision that was previously made. Please, Councillor Johnson?
I'll make the motion that we ratify the letter of support we provided to FCSS for the Provincial Assisted Transportation Project Funding Grant Application. Transportation Project Funding Grant Application.
All in favor? That's carried. Next, we're looking for a request for decision for some spending approval for the Hearts for Healthcare Gala in Cold Lake. Who's taking care of this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council at the March 26 meeting approved the purchase of a table to attend the Hearts for Healthcare Gala in Cold Lake. During the gala, there will be a silent and live auction to help raise funds for healthcare services for the Cold Lake Hospital, which also services the residents of Bonnyville for certain procedures. Approval is required should council wish to bid on either a silent auction or live auction item. Administration is recommending that council approve a spending limit up to $5,000 to bid on a silent or live auction item at the Hearts for Healthcare Gala.
Okay, thank you. Opening up the conversation, comments, questions. Who wants to start this one? You want me to start?
I'll start this one.
Councillor McAvoy?
I was not at the Priorities Committee meeting, so I didn't have the opportunity to participate in the discussions. I fully support the concept of increasing our contributions into the Hearts for Healthcare Gala process in Cold Lake, similar to what they do for ours. I'm just a little unsure of how this would work with bidding on items like this. You know, is there other options to contribute that $5,000 as opposed to bidding on live auction items and stuff? Because that gives us the process of, once we have it, now we have to dispose of it properly. And, you know, it either means, if we do it this way, that means then we then have to donate that price someplace forward so that, you know, I find the process awkward. I don't have a problem with the amount and supporting, but that's just my opinion, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, we didn't, I guess, to comment to that and to the conversation, there was really no process. The conversation was more or less that after our gala, we wanted to support the one in Cold Lake, and because we've already talked about the donations coming to council, at that time we decided just on the table. So this was the next best option we thought we might be able to do in order to support their healthcare system in Cold Lake. Go ahead, Councillor Kushner.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. No, I do recall us saying that maybe we would donate it back to them if we won, right? A live auction, we would give it back to them and then they could redo it. And I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with the $5,000, just because I know they spent some money on our healthcare gala, but their budget is way bigger than our budget. And to put $5,000 into theirs, I think is a little bit too rich for my blood, would be my opinion on that. I mean, I'd be more comfortable at, you know, the $2,000, $2,500 range rather than the $5,000 range if we are gonna go down that road. And that's up to, you know, the $2,000, $2,500. So I'm more in that range, but of course, council has the last decision on that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kushner. Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to participate in the dialogue with this. I was listening in, and I couldn't type fast enough to keep up with conversations. I'm not that skilled with typing, so. I'm with Councillor Kushner on this. I was thinking more $1,000, $2,000 range, just because it is gonna come out of our, you know, our fund that we're sponsoring other events coming up. We didn't, you know, put it into the budget per se and discuss this. Definitely a conversation going ahead next year, I would say, but I would be more comfortable in that $1,000 to $2,000 range myself.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blanchette?
Through to administration, did we increase the council receptions and public relations line in our operating budget for this?
Yes, we did. That was the recommendation from the Governance and Priorities Committee, April 16th.
So we've already approved an extra $5,000.
Into that particular budget line, yes.
Excellent.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Would like to have some sort of decision, whether we go ahead or not, an amount.
I'll make a motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I will move that council approve a spending limit of up to $2,500 to donate a silent or live auction item at the Hearts for Healthcare Gala.
All right, thank you. Questions on the motion? Councillor Sharoon?
Just a comment. Next year, I would like to see us, if we're going to go that route, as some sort of a sponsor rather than bidding on an item, because like the two councillors that spoke before me, it is kind of a situation to have to, you know, if we buy it, then we have to donate it back and then they can rebid it again. But in the future, I'd like to see us as a sponsor. That way we're going to get named. This way we're not going to be really on the program or named at all. I believe we have a table. But that's the route I'd like to see in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Blanchette?
I just want to clarify my motion that it's to donate an item, not to bid on one, to align with Councillor McAvoy's suggestion earlier. So we would get recognition that we're donating the item.
Okay. Councillor Kushner?
Through to Councillor Blanchette, can you
Okay.
kind of explain that a little bit more? I'm not unclear. So I'm unclear. So does that mean at the gala, or we're purchasing something beforehand?
No, we'll purchase it and donate it.
Person and donate it. Okay, on this short notice, are they gonna be able to get that in their programs, get all that stuff together, get all that, you know what I'm saying?
I think it's something that evening you purchase it and then just redonate it. I think it, is that what you're thinking? Is that what you were thinking?
Well, we can. I can amend, if you're offering a friendly amendment to my motion.
That's why I'm unclear. That's why I wanted to ask the question.
Bill, please.
Yes, please. Please help us.
Well, your worship, I mean, there's a number of ways this could go. You can donate money in a whole bunch of ways, by winning a silent auction item, by bidding on a live auction item, or even by bidding to be served first at the dinner and just donating the cash right up front and having done with it. So if there's a little bit of a discretion in the motion, it'll certainly be a little clearer for administration when we're sitting waiting for the gala trying to figure out how to spend the money.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay. Your motion stands? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there any questions on the motion? Any more questions? Debate on the motion? Yes, go ahead, Councillor
I'm
Langley.
still seeking clarity after what Bill said. The motion is to donate up to, so, but donate, are we saying spend up to $2,500
Yes, and I think.
that evening?
Yes,
Spend is a lot better for me than donate, but
okay.
Yeah, me too.
I think we're
Okay. Councillor McAvoy?
I was just saying, what I was hearing was, we'd go out and buy a $2,500 barbecue or something like that, donated as a,
yes, and
Okay, so I think that, I think for conversation's sake, and because, I mean, really, we should just be debating on the motion and asking questions. I think if we have a motion on the floor, I think we can give direction to administration to come up with a plan on going forward and what we do that evening. Does that work for you?
It does, your worship, but I'm confused as to what the motion is at this point. We just need to, if it's to spend up to $2,500 at the gala, we're good.
Yeah. To donate up to $2,500. Yeah,
Yep, that works.
okay. You want donate or spend?
Spend. I'll amend my motion.
Okay,
Spend.
thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Next, warranty loader replacement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the loader at the landfill has suffered a major warranty defect which has caused the frame to crack. The loader is used between pushing household garbage into trailers at the transfer station and pushing construction and demolition, the C&D waste at the landfill face. Since this is warranty, the dealership has loaned the town a loader for the last 4 weeks at no cost and is arranging to honor the repair work. It is important to note that the purchase price of the Hyundai was the lowest price during the tender process. The estimated time for repairs is 5 to 6 months away, as it is shipped from Korea and then it must be reassembled. The dealership is claiming to have another buyer for the loader, but asked if the town would be interested in trading the damaged loader in and purchasing the loaner unit. The current damaged loader was built in 2021 and has 2,500 operating hours. The loaner that the dealership sent is the same model with some warranty, is a year newer, and has about 600 operating hours. The key issue is determining if there is enough value to purchase the loaner loader. Administration had negotiated the dealership down to $36,000 plus GST from the original price of $45,000. Since the town puts roughly 970 hours of service on the loader per year, this equals to more than 2 years of service time for $36,000. Since the loader will be amortized over 10 years, it means that the loader depreciates at a rate of just over $31,000 per year, so there is amortized value. Additional reasons like reduced dozer costs at the landfill, the added 2 years of service time with warranty, and having a permanent solution now instead of half a year away are all value-added factors. The desired outcome is to safely and efficiently operate equipment in the landfill and transfer station. A few potential options include trade in the damaged loader and purchase the loaner loader, use a skid steer in the transfer station and contract more C&D pushing out, or long-term loader rental. The preferred strategy is to trade in the current damaged Hyundai loader for the same model with fewer hours. The financial impact is that this will lower our available capital asset reserves by $36,000, and the recommendation is that for council to approve the warranty swap for the newer loader with an added amount of $36,000 for the newer loaner loader that we are currently using.
Okay, thank you, Brett. All right, any questions, comments? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to administration. Just a little bit of clarity on the request for decision. So the lowest price when we bought this loader was $225,000, and that was back in 2020, 2021?
Correct, yeah, that was the loader with the solid rubber mining tires.
Okay. And in today's world, like 2024, what would that new loader cost today, roughly?
We received a price, an estimate this week for the loader of $225,000.
Okay, so it's roughly stayed the same over the last few years.
Yeah, just the equipment, the initial purchase included the wheels. This loader, this new estimate didn't include the solid rubber.
Okay.
That was the difference.
Okay, and so just, I got a few more questions to do with the warranty and that. So with the warranty, do they cover transporting the equipment to the city to fix, or do we have to cover the cost of that?
So we hauled it there. So far, we're about $3,000 into it, and when we hauled it there, we backhauled the loaner loader, so.
Okay, so under the warranty agreement through them, they don't cover transportation, then I take it?
No, typically they don't.
Okay. So currently, our loader is in the city with our solid rubber tires on it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so if we do purchase this, we're gonna swap the tires out from what I understand, right?
Correct.
Okay, so how are we gonna get the tires back here? And on the loader we're purchasing, will they cover the cost of that? Or do we have to haul it back in and haul it back out for another $3,000?
That could definitely be something we, something we, a condition of sale perhaps, or if there's another way, yeah, we can definitely look into that. We want the solid rubber.
Absolutely, yes.
Wheels back in that kind of environment. So, yeah, we could negotiate that, I think.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you 100% on the solid rubber tires out there. You would not want to run just straight pneumatic tires because you'd have a tire company out there every day fixing for you guys, so. All right, so I think that's all I have for the moment.
Gridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple questions through to administration. So, in your expert opinions, is this loader, so from what I've read, it's the damage that was done, is this something that is once in a blue moon, or is this something that we could foresee? Is the loader that we purchased able to handle the load, or do you think it's just a one-in-a-lifetime defect on that loader that we purchased?
I think it's a once in a lifetime. The way it cracked, like it was the main bucket boom, like that shouldn't break. That's so, and just looking at the brake, it looked like it was just, and I'm not a welder, but just the shades of it, it looked like there was maybe a fracture from factory, perhaps, is kind of what the assumption was, and that was the logic that we used with the dealer, so.
Okay, thank you, and then through to administration again. We have on the note here that when the town purchased the loader, it amortized it over 15 years, but in actuality, it should be 10. I find that confusing. Why, are we just changing our mind midpoint, or?
So I can speak to that. So this was up until this loader, we used the Bobcat. And so we weren't really sure how we would utilize the loader, and we're using it way more. We're using it in the transfer station for its purpose, and then we're also using it down in the C&D, and we're reducing our contracted costs with the dozer pushing. So it's getting way more hours, and it's a very, it's a harsh environment, right? So yes, that's why.
Okay, no, that answers it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all right. So we are looking for a decision. Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, overall, just looking at this, it seems like a reasonable deal to go a year newer, less hours. And obviously, they don't provide loaner service for the entire time it's down. Is that correct? Sorry, through to administration.
Yeah, I think they were pretty accommodating getting this one out here for a month, and yeah,
Okay. So with that, I would be willing to make the motion on this, but I would like us to try and negotiate with them that they can get our tires out here so we can put them on, so we don't have to haul the machine back in to do that, to spend that cost again, so.
Yeah,
Try and negotiate that in.
we'll do our best, but we can't make any promises this time.
Okay. So I'll make the motion. Let me read it so I have it correct here. That we approve the warranty swap for the newer loader with an added amount of $36,000 for the newer loader. That's a mouthful. That we are currently using, and that will come out of the capital asset reserves.
All right, thank you. Questions on the motion? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we will do committee reports, and we'll start with Councillor Kushner, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. April 13th, myself and I think just about everybody from council, we went to the Bonnyville Healthcare Gala. It was very well done. I don't know what they ended up having. Hopefully somebody down the road knows. But that was one of the best ones I've been to. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. April 15th, BRFA Chiefs Officers Meeting. April 16th, our governance and priority meeting here in council chambers. April 18th, our regularly scheduled BRFA meeting. And April 23rd, today, AB councils on Bill 18 today. And that's all I have, Madam.
Okay, I missed the gala, Phil. The 16th of April, I did attend the trade fair, the job trade fair, with Councillor Caleb Blanchette, who forgot to put it in her report, which was really well run and well attended. On the 17th, I attended the Lakeland Health Advisory Council webinar. On the 18th, the Bonnyville Regional Fire Authority regular meeting, as well as the Bonnyville Regional Water Service Commission regular meeting. This morning, on the 23rd, I attended a pipe ceremony here in the front courtyard, along with Councillor Langridge and Councillor Deputy Mayor Johnson and some staff, and then the Alberta Council Bill 18 webinar.
Thank you. April 10th, I had an SPCA Policy Committee meeting. April 12th, I participated in a pre-event interview for an activity taking place at the Northeast Regional Spring FCSS meeting in May. I'm not entirely sure what the end product of that interview will look like, but we'll all be surprised that day. April 13th, I also attended the 24th Annual Fundraising Gala for the Health Foundation. April 15th, I had a virtual meeting with the FCSS directors from Barrhead and Lac St. Anne County in preparation for the spring meeting in May. April 16th, Governance and Priorities Committee meeting, followed by a Bonnyville Wellness Coalition meeting, and then, as Councillor McAvoy reminded me, the Student Trades Fair that evening. April 17th, a Lakeland Lodge and Housing Foundation board meeting. April 22nd, yesterday, at a meeting with the FCSS Association of Alberta president, followed by an SPCA board meeting, and then this afternoon, the Alberta Council webinar on Bill 18.
Okay, for myself, on April 10th, I traveled to Lac La Biche for a regular quarterly NAGO meeting. On April 12th, I had a Waste Commission meeting. At that meeting, we talked about one of our newer trailers. Well, it's 2 years old, but we're still having problems there. So we're going to be looking at getting some warranty work there. And then some major repairs and extra costs to the, was it the landfill station we call in Cold Lake? Yeah. The transfer station there. Thank you, Brad. Yeah. So there's going to be some added costs that we're going to be looking to recuperate from the municipalities. Unfortunately, we just don't have it in the revenues or, you know, excess cash hanging around at the Waste Commission. So just a heads up to council that we'll be looking for. We're coming back to the municipalities to help us pay for that. I think it's about $60,000, something like that. On the 13th, I attended the 60th anniversary of the Seventh-day Adventist Church to bring greetings on behalf of council and the town. And then in the evening, I attended the Bonnyville Health Foundation Gala. I want to give a shout out to Linda Chow-Turner and her husband for joining us from Covenant Health. It was nice to have representation from management with Covenant Health to see how much our community shows up and supports our local healthcare, turning good healthcare to great healthcare. April 15th, with the BRFA, we had a chief officers meeting. And then on April 17th, along with the, I didn't attend the job fair, but Shafak Saeed with Pathways was here, so I had an update from her. Not really anything new, except for they do have their first application with the regulatory board here in Alberta. It's the first of many applications, but they're hopeful if they can get that one passed, then they can start submitting the rest of their applications. And then, of course, the second priority continues to be funding from the federal government, so nothing new to report there. And then on the 18th, I had a BRFA meeting, followed by a Winter Games meeting from the executive of the Winter Games, as well as the Alberta sports person. I forget his title. But anyways, it was nice to, I was happy that they involved the municipalities that are going to be hosting the games. It was nice to all be in the same room and have some conversation as far as expectations, as well as, you know, what we can expect to have these games and all these athletes in our municipalities. And I'm equally looking forward to looking at the economic impact study that Grand Prairie did to see, you know, what are some of those things that we can expect here coming out of hosting the games. Also, that same day, I had a Lakeland DMO board meeting. And then yesterday was a little bit of a fun day. I attended the science fair to be a judge over at Dr. Brasso. And then I went to Cold Lake to two grade 6 classes at the St. Dominic School there, and Mayor Copeland and I presented to both classes and talked about municipal governance. So we had a blast there. Thank you to St. Dominic School for having me, as well as the Mayor of the City of Cold Lake for hosting with me.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On March 27th, we had our Chamber AGM meeting. Later on that night, we had Lakeland Lodge and Housing Foundation here in Bonnyville. It was our AGM. On the 13th of April, also attended the hospital gala with the rest of our council. On the 17th, we had our Lakeland Lodge and Housing Foundation meeting in Coal Lake. Just some fun facts. November 8th, 1960, Bonnie Lodge was open. The matron was getting $110 a month, and the rent was $65 a month. So they had pulled off that news magazine from, I think it was called the Bonnyville Tribune. On the 18th, we had our regular chamber meeting. Bonnyville Chamber is going with the Coal Lake Chamber to develop, or it's developed, they want to sign in, Coal Lake's on it already, with a chamber app of everything, what's happening with the chamber. I suggested reaching out to our CAO, and perhaps we can piggyback with the BCITI app. Nobody around our chamber knew about it. So I had to explain about our town app. So perhaps we can maybe do another little blitz and a reminder out there and let everybody know about it. Again, on the 20th, on Saturday, I attended a Thermal Cup, went to some games in the morning, and then went to the finals in the evening. And Strathcona beat CNRL not only in the first game, all the points were so close they had to go for points for and against, and it was CNRL and Strathcona Resources in the final game, which Strathcona won. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Alrighty, on the 13th, attended the health gala along with the majority of council. And yes, kudos, very well done, a fun evening. Excited to hear the grand totals for the fundraising efforts. The 16th, we had the Governance and Priorities Committee. On Thursday, the 18th, I, along with Madam Mayor, attended a Winter Games meeting with Jeff Ricks from the Alberta Sport Association. And good. It was a great meeting to have delegates from Village of Glendon, City of Coal Lake, MD of Bonnyville, and ourselves, just to kind of understand what the ask is going to be and the economic impact coming back. So it should be fun moving forward here. And then today I attended the pipe ceremony in the courtyard here at the town and the Alberta Council presentation regarding Bill 18. Thank you.
All right, so April 10th, I had the opportunity to do the morning after at Lakeland Connect, filling in for Madam Mayor. Also April 10th, I had a meeting at the C2. April 11th, I had an opportunity to attend the men's mental health workshop put on by FCSS, where they got together. There was about 10 or 12 of us there talking about men's mental health, how to reach out to men, how to get help, different avenues of support to get ideas. So it was a very informative evening, and it was, I think they're going to be putting together some great things out of that. So I'm looking forward to see what they put together. April the 13th, I attended the Health Foundation Gala with most of council. April 16th, I zoomed into the Governance and Priorities meeting. April 17th, I had a Historical Society meeting, which we're getting ready for the opening season, starting to do interviews for hiring staff. April 18th, we had a Water Commission meeting, and today I attended the pipe ceremony in the courtyard. Thank you to Elder Rodney John for coming and doing that. It was very informative.
All right, moving on to correspondence. We have a letter from the MD of Bonnyville that they put out in regards to Highway 28, a letter to the Honorable Danielle Smith, the Premier's office. Then also we have an invitation to the public to attend on April 26th, the hosting of Day of Mourning ceremony here in Council Chambers starting at 10:30. Then we have our strategic plan update, the 2024 quarterly report, business licensing report from January to March 2024. All right, then I have a couple proclamations. Whereas all citizens of the town of Bonnyville should be prepared for any kind of emergency. Therefore, I, Elisa Barrasso, Mayor of the town of Bonnyville, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th to 11th, 2024 as National Emergency Preparedness Week in the town of Bonnyville. Second proclamation, whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. Now, therefore, I, Elisa Barrasso, Mayor of the town of Bonnyville, do recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. All right, where's my agenda? Sorry. Okay, appendix, council receptions and public relations up to April 16th. Any questions? Councillor Langridge.
Just one question, Madam Mayor, and just something that popped up, and I'm not sure if Chief Haney's here on official duty or not, but I seen today that we have a declaration or a declaring of emergency coming through. Is it something that the town should be aware of if it's around with, it's a?
I believe but that is the emergency declaration through the MD of Bonnyville.
Correct. But I'm just wondering, and being our immediate neighbors, if we, any feedback?
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Langridge. Yes, there was a state of local emergency declared by the MD of Bonnyville today due to a wildfire that exists on Cold Lake First Nations land. Prevailing winds is pushing that fire away from MD land. I believe it was declared in case they needed to make an evacuation order. I would suggest that no, there is no emergent presence towards the town of Bonnyville at this time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? We have a couple items in camera. If I can get a motion to move to camera, Councillor Langridge.
I'll make that motion.